All right, in this video, we're going to go over this polynomial study guide. This is 2024 study guide and module 9. So an expression is given. We have negative 4x squared minus 5x minus 3 plus 5x squared plus 8x minus 9. The first thing we're going to do, or understand that the first thing we have to do is simplify this expression. So in order to simplify this expression, we're going to distribute any negative, so the subtraction sign, outside the parentheses. So we have this negative sign. We have to distribute it inside the parentheses. So negative times 3 is negative 3. A negative 1 or negative times 5x squared is negative 5x squared. Now we can remove the remaining parentheses. So negative 4x squared minus 5x plus 8x minus 9, because we didn't have to change anything else because that was the only negative we had. So now that we've dropped the parentheses, now we're just going to combine our like terms. So I like to highlight, but if you don't have a highlighter, you can box or circle or triangle or underline your like terms. So here I have negative 4x squared and negative 5x squared. So I'm going to combine those two terms, negative 4 minus 5. And then I have negative 5x and a positive 8x. Those are like terms, so I have to combine those. And then I have negative 3 and negative 9. Those are like terms, they're like constants, so I'm going to combine those. So negative 4 minus 5. Please make sure you use a calculator to avoid your mistakes. Negative 4 minus 5, I get negative 9. Notice that my variables and my exponent did not change, okay? So no variable change, no exponent change. They stay the same when we are adding and subtracting. Negative 5x plus 8, and I get a positive 3. And negative 3 minus 9, I get a negative 12. So this is my final polynomial, which is negative 9x squared plus 3x minus 12. Now this particular question is asking you to complete the sentence. So an equivalent expression to the one shown above is ax squared plus bx plus c. So recognize that this negative 9 is representing the a. This positive 3 is representing the b, and the negative 12 is representing the c. So in the equivalent expression, the value of a is negative 9, and the value of c is negative 12. Here, this particular question did not ask for the b. It only asked you to identify the a and the c. Okay, question 2. What is the simplified form of the polynomial expression below? Here we have the negative 2x multiplied by x minus 3 plus 2 times negative 3x squared plus x minus 1 minus x times x plus 2. So the first thing we're going to do is simplify the expression. So we're going to distribute all the coefficients that are outside the parentheses. And we're going to be careful to watch our signs, okay? So negative 2x times x is going to be negative 2x squared. Negative 2x times a negative 3 is a positive 6x. So negative 2 times negative 3 is positive 6x. Then we're going to have our positive 2 multiplied by a negative 3x squared. So we're going to get a negative 6x squared. Positive 2 times a positive x will be a positive 2x. Positive 2 times negative 1 is a negative 2. Then I have negative x. That's going to be multiplied times x, so I have a negative x squared. Negative x times 2 is going to be a negative 2x. Now we're going to combine our like terms. So again, if you don't have a highlighter to use, you can use a box and a circle and an underline to identify your different types of terms. So negative 2x squared, negative x squared. Notice I forgot to highlight the negative 6x squared. There we go. Those are all like terms, so I'm going to have to combine those. Positive 6x, positive 2x, negative 2x, I'm going to have to combine all of those terms. Finally, I have the negative 2. There's no other terms to combine that negative 2 with, so I'm just going to leave that down here on its own. I'm going to simplify now. So remember, we're going to use a calculator to add or subtract the coefficients. Don't make simple mistakes because you think you're too good to bring out a calculator. So here we have negative 2 minus 6 minus 1. So that's going to give me a negative 9x. Again, plug it into a calculator. 2 negative minus 6 minus 1, because there's an implied 1 there, and you're going to get negative 9x squared. Now we're going to simplify this positive 6x, positive 2x, minus 2x. Now, if you put this into a calculator, 6 plus 2 minus 2, and you would get positive 6x. And then finally, we have the negative 2. So my final answer here is negative 9x squared plus 6x minus 2. Question number 3, we have what are the values of a and b? So we have 1/3 multiplied by 1/2 x minus 1 plus 2 times 2/3 x plus 1/2. They know that once we simplify everything, we should end up with a binomial in the form of ax plus b. And they want us to identify the values of a and b. So first, we're going to distribute all the coefficients that are outside the parentheses. Use a calculator, especially the TI calculator that can do fractions if you don't know how to multiply with fractions. So 1/3 times 1/2 is going to be 1/6. So 1 times 1 is 1, 3 times 2 is 6. So we have 1/6 x. 1/3 times negative 1 is going to be a negative 1/3. Then we're going to have the positive 2, multiply that by 2/3 x, and we get a positive 4/3 x. Positive 2 times positive 1/2 will be a positive 1. Okay, now we're going to combine our like terms. Use a calculator if you don't know how to add and subtract with fractions. So we have 1/6 x plus 4/3 x, and we're going to have negative 1/3 plus 1/3. So how do we simplify those? Well, 1/6 plus 4/3 is 3/2. So we have 3/2 x, and we have a positive 2/3. So our a and b, remember, that's what it's asking for. Identify the a. So our a is equal to 3/2. Okay, we don't have to worry about the x. And our b is equal to 2/3. All right. Simplify. So what we have to do here is simplify this. We have to rewrite this in simplified form. So we're going to divide each term in the numerator by the term in the denominator. So we have 8x to the power of 6 to y divided by 4x squared minus 24x squared y squared divided by 4x squared. So we're going to coefficient divided by coefficient, exponent minus exponent. So 8 divided by 4 is 2. X to the power of 6 divided by x to the power of 2. We're going to subtract 2 from 6. So we have x to the power of 4. And the y was all by itself, so we're going to leave the y alone. Then we have the negative, so we're going to bring down that negative. 24 divided by 4 is 6. X to the power of 2 divided by x. Well, those will cancel out, so I'm not going to have an x anymore. And then I have y squared. So my final answer is 2x to the power of 4y minus 6y squared. Question number 5, simplify. So we have 10x to the power of 10 plus 12x to the power of 8 plus 4x to the power of 6, and we're going to divide by 2x squared. So we're going to divide each term in the trinomial by the monomial 2x squared. So 10x to the power of 10 divided by 2x squared. 12x to the power of 8 divided by 2x squared, and 4x to the power of 6 divided by 2x squared. Again, we're going to coefficient divided by coefficient, exponent minus exponent. So 10 divided by 2 is 5. X to the power of 10 divided by x to the power of 2 is x to the power of 8. 12 divided by 2 is a positive 6. X to the power of 8 divided by x to the power of 2, or 8 minus 2, and I get x to the power of 6. 4 divided by 2, and I get 2. X to the power of 6 divided by x to the power of 2, and I get x to the power of 4. So my final answer is 5x to the power of 8 plus 6x to the power of 6 plus 2x to the power of 4. Here we have another dividing polynomials. So here we do have to be careful because we're dividing by a fraction. So we are going to divide each term in the trinomial by the monomial. Ignore that. Sorry. Let's cross that out. That was from the previous slide. We're going to divide it by the 1 over 4x. All right. We'll get rid of that and make the pointer. All right. So here we have x to the power of 4 divided by 1/4 x plus 2x to the power of 2 divided by 1/4 x, 3/4 x divided by 1/4 x. Again, coefficient divided by coefficient, exponent minus exponent. So here, I want you to be careful. Remember, we have 1 and we're going to be dividing by 1/4. So when we are dividing by 1/4, we are actually multiplying our coefficient times 4. So that's going to become 4. However, our exponents, it does not change what happens to our exponents. So x to the power of 4 over x becomes x to the power of 3. 2 divided by 1/4, we have a positive 8. X squared divided by x, and we get x, because x to the power of 2 divided by x, we end up with x to the power of 1. And 3/4 divided by 1/4 is going to be 3. X divided by x, they both cancel out, so I no longer have an x. So my final answer is 4x to the power of 3 plus 8x plus 3. All right, I have about 4 minutes. So when the binomial 12a squared b to the power of 3 minus 16ab is factored, it can be written in the form g times 3a minus 4b. So we have to find what the value of g is. What I'm going to tell you to do is just to find the greatest common factor of the coefficients. So look for, we have the 12a squared b to the power of 3 and the negative 16ab to the power of 4. We're going to find our greatest common factor. Okay, so of 12 and negative 16, these are my factors. 1 and 12, 2 and 6, 3 and 4, 1 and 16, 2 and 8, 4 and 4. So their greatest common factor of the coefficients is 4. Then we're going to find the greatest common factor of the variables. Remember, we're looking for the smallest exponent. So here between 14a squared b to the power of 3 and negative 16ab to the power of 4, a is our smallest exponent. And then b to the power of 3 is our smallest exponent from the other term. So our greatest common factor for these two terms is 4ab to the power of 3. So if I divide this binomial by 4ab to the power of 3, then I'm going to get 3a minus 4b. So that is exactly what I had here in the parentheses. So that means that this right here is my answer. So g is equal to the GCF of that binomial, which is 4ab to the power of 3. All right, I'm going to stop the video here. I will do questions 8 through 11 in a separate video.